Hi, Mike. Welcome to the Virtual Propane Expo, and welcome to one of our many live interviews and live presentations. Thanks for being here. So, as the Propane Defense Association president, Mike, I'm going to ask you if you would tell us what in this world. Thanks, Mike, for being here. Thank you. And if you could just shed some light on this little-known organization called the Propane Defense Association. What is it, and how does it impact the propane industry and those people that are on this right now, the propane marketers that are here? How does it serve them, and how can they benefit from it? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, sir, and thank you. I got to say that the PGDA is one of the best kept secrets in the propane industry. I retired from my former employer 28 years ago, and shortly after I was employed, I was given the okay to join the Propane Gas Defense Association. So I didn't get a chance to go back and look, but I certainly don't recall exactly how long I've been with the PGDA, but it's got to be close to 20 years. I also serve on the board of directors for that association, and this year I am the president. I urge everybody, every marketer, every company, every safety professional to join this organization. It consists of attorneys, insurance professionals, representatives from various companies in the propane industry, fire and explosion experts, and a lot of safety professionals. Propane Gas Defense Association is dedicated to providing a forum for defense of propane companies and the insurers whenever there's a propane gas incident. But what I've learned from this, and the biggest benefit that I've gotten since I've joined this association, is I learned how to prevent future accidents. By drilling down in how propane accidents occur and other accidents, it's not just propane related, natural gas and petroleum products as well. But when you drill down on these things and find the root cause, you can actually figure out how to prevent these accidents from happening to your own company. So the biggest thing that we do is we exchange ideas and techniques to improve the defense of propane gas companies and insurance claims. The propane
let me stop there one second. So I'm going to ask you some questions about this. My question is, when it comes to the members of this, who are members of this thing? It's the Propane Gas Defense Association. So you help defend the propane industry, and that's kind of the goal. What is the directive and the purpose of this association, and who are the typical members?
Well, the primary purpose of the PGDA is to defend propane companies and their insurers whenever there's an insurance claim or litigation against that company from any type of propane accident. It could be at a fixed facility, or it could be during transportation. Members, the membership for marketers, the propane companies is growing at a fast rate. And if anyone is interested in joining this association, please reach out to me, shoot me an email. It's a fantastic way to learn about safety and how to protect your company from litigation, and it might save your company. We meet twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall, March or April, end of March, beginning of April, and September or October. So unfortunately, because of COVID, the April meeting was canceled, and we canceled the September meeting. But I want to say, please shoot me an email or call me, because for the first time ever since this association was founded, we're having our meeting in the New York, New Jersey area. It's going to be right on the Hudson River at a fabulous hotel. So this September meeting has been moved to September 23rd and 24th of 2021, and it's going to be in Weehawken, New Jersey, right on the Hudson. I highly recommend you bring your families, stay the weekend, enjoy the city, enjoy the sports, enjoy the wonderful restaurants. I would say arrive on a Wednesday. The meeting is going to be a Thursday and Friday. Stay at least until Monday and enjoy the whole weekend around the city and New Jersey, for sure.
All right. Okay, so when it comes to the members, there's propane marketers during this, but specifically there's a lot of propane maybe attorneys and insurance companies, safety consultants, safety experts, and you I guess focus on how to defend and how to set up propane companies for defense and prior to an issue and after an issue, right?
Yes, and thank you for reminding me. When it comes to the attorneys, you have the top defense attorneys in the entire nation, members of this group. Come to the meetings, meet these guys, talk to them. They're great people. They'll answer all your questions, but more importantly, you'll make some good friends with some really great litigants. They are the best. If any of you get butane, propane news or LP Gas magazine, you'll always see John McCoy in there doing an article on defense work, and also David Schley. They're also doing articles on accidents that have happened, what caused them, and the takeaway from that for us is we've learned what happened. What can we do with our company to prevent it from happening to us? And let me tell you something. Being a member of this organization, if you have a bad accident, it can save your company.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So, yeah, John McCoy is one of the leading attorneys that defends the propane industry against suits. And he was one of the presenters on the Expo, I think about 2 months ago. Just a fabulous presentation. And it's really great hearing and talking to these guys because they're actually in the courtrooms defending different companies just like yours. And so at the Propane Defense Association, it's really a meeting of the minds of what's actually going on right now in the defense world and how to protect your company and what things they're seeing in the courtrooms that you need to know, the latest that are being used against our industry. And it's pretty awesome. So Mike, thanks for letting us know. It's a big deal because not many people know about the Propane Defense Association. So thanks for sharing it and revealing a little bit more about that.
And I will add, from the same firm, John McCoy, we had 2 months ago, John Hansen, who did the lecture on out of gas, how to handle out of gas claims, and what to do in the middle of COVID, how you deal with the customer. So if you didn't see that presentation, go back to what Bill showed you earlier. Look that lecture up and watch it. It's good.
Awesome, thank you. I think we might have lost your video again. If you want to refresh, that'd be great. Mike's been consulting and working with companies across the northern hemisphere with their propane operations, primarily with safety and compliance. So Mike, when it comes to the two companies that you head up, tell us your story. How did you endure 45 years in the industry and succeed and grow into multiple businesses and an expert witness? What's your backstory, really quick, just in a nutshell? And then if you could tell us a little bit about these two companies that you had before we jump into emergency response and hose inspections and things like that.
Okay, well, very interesting, and definitely dating myself now, because I got involved in the propane industry many, many years ago when alternative fuels and propane conversions became popular for the very first time. So we got involved with a lot of propane conversions and also natural gas conversions. So I was with a company called Alternative Fuel Systems. They sent me to a lot of educational ventures that I went out on, a lot of traveling, a lot of universities where I took courses on natural gas and propane conversions, and then overseas to learn from the manufacturers about their conversion equipment. So anyway, once I start wiggling my lips about this stuff, I won't shut up. So I'll just make it quick.
All right.
Yes, I got involved with our industry when propane as an alternative fuel was very popular. And if anybody's around that remembers that era, we converted thousands of trucks, buses, and cars municipalities, school buses to run on either dual fuel systems or straight propane systems. The problem back then was that the carburation that was being manufactured was absolutely terrible. It always broke down. It would never start. And if your gasoline engine was getting 12 miles to a gallon on gasoline, you'd be lucky if you were getting 2 on propane. But the propane was so cheap back then, the gas companies didn't care. There was no taxes on it. You could run right off the barrel of your truck, connect the barrel of your bobtail right to your carburation equipment, and off and running you went on propane if your vehicle started. So a guy like me that was heavily involved in fleet maintenance and the training of technicians and mechanics that were installing this stuff became very valuable because the stuff didn't work. But with that said, buy it today because alternative fuels today has come a long way, especially with technology. I'm not a technical guy, Bill is, and I know he'll talk to you about technology, digital technology, and how even in alternative fuels that's benefiting our industry. So once I left alternative fuel systems, I was hired by a major gas company. I worked my way up the ladder. I did everything in that company. I worked in service, I worked in the plant, I worked in the cylinder fill room. I drove service trucks, cylinder delivery trucks, bobtail trucks. I started their transport business. I drove the tractor trailers. That hauled the product from the refinery to the plant. And I ended up becoming director of transportation and safety. And one thing they did, and they still do today, is education and training. They never stopped me from going to a training program or doing anything that could further my education. And that's how I got involved with the Propane Gas Defense Association and the Emergency Response Committee. So that's my worm's eye story.
Okay, all right. All right, so you started up the Propane University and the Silverback Consulting. For those of us that don't know you really well, I've known Mike for some time. The Propane University, what made you start this thing up? Why did you do this?
Well, in 2013, I started Silverback Consulting Group, and I did a lot of consulting work, and I did a lot of training. But roughly around 4 years ago, I noticed that it was difficult for companies to get their employees out to locations throughout the state, to get them a variety of training, and some companies just either couldn't afford it or just couldn't lose their employees to do that. So 4 or 5 years ago, I thought, hey, why don't I do this virtually? So I got the best education I could on how to do virtual education. I took some courses on virtual training, and I practiced it. And when I felt that I was knowledgeable enough to bring it to the industry, I started virtual training. I started with the typical DOT OSHA type training, and that evolved into CTEP training. So now we do all the CTEP courses. We do a lot of basic principles, bobtail delivery, cylinder delivery, plant operations, transport driver, and quite a bit of the OSHA DOT first 90 days. In fact, I have a class going on next week. But about 3 years ago, I hooked up with one of the largest petroleum and propane companies in the Caribbean. And I trained pretty close to 250 or more of their employees on bobtail, basic, and cylinder delivery in less than 3 months. We did it all virtually. I did nothing but work for that company every day. We did all their training virtually, and not one of their employees had to leave one of the islands. They did it all from their own island. They thought that training was so good that they put together a program with all their engineers. Every one of their locations had at least 1 or 2 engineers on site. And I did ship-to-shore training for them and plant operations for them. We spent a few days with the engineers doing all that training. It was a lot of fun. I met a great group of people. So that's how virtual training began at Propane University, and I've been doing it ever since.
Okay. So we're in this COVID problem right now. All the trade shows are canceled. A lot of face-to-face training is canceled. Most associations are canceled. So you started this business 4 years ago to help propane marketers, maybe 5 years ago, probably, okay, so 4 or 5 years ago, to help propane marketers so they can do their training, do it training remotely, do it so their guys don't have to leave the office, do it so it costs less, and do it live so that you can keep their attention instead of it just being some recorded thing. Is that right so far?
Oh, the live part of it, the interactive part of it is absolutely fantastic. We have so much fun doing this training. When we take our coffee breaks, I've even had guys say to me, "Do you want me to bring you back a cup of coffee?" And I said, "Sure, you can help me drink it too." So, so it's real. It's reality training. It's live, um, and we have a lot of fun doing it. We actually
Okay.
go outside and we do hands-on work virtually. When I do our truck inspections, pre and post trip inspection, and plant inspections, the guys actually take me outside with their smartphones and show me exactly what they're working on. I've done an entire truck inspection with employees while they were pointing to the components on the truck, showing me what they were inspecting, and explaining to me why they were doing the inspection and how they were doing the inspection. So we do have a lot of fun.
Okay, that's cool. So live training, they can do it on their smartphones. They can do it on laptops. They can do it as a group. They can do it individually. You can have people from multiple different, like you had all these people you're training, they're all on different islands, and yet you could train them remotely. So in other words, a company could have lots and lots of different offices all over the place, and you could set up a live online training for them that costs, what is it, half as much as it would be to send people to a normal thing? What's, from a perspective of percentage wise, is it half the cost? Is it a quarter of the cost? What is it?
It's 3/4 of the cost. You have no travel. You don't have people upset because they're having to stay away from home. There's no hotels, there's no food bills, there's no travel expense. We don't charge by the student or by the computer. We only charge by the day. If you're a big company, and I've trained a lot of large companies in the U.S., you get a fee from me for the day of training, and you could have 50 computers in my training room with 50 people in each room. I don't care. I don't charge you by the head.
Okay, so you don't charge by the head, you just charge by the course. Is that right? By the class?
That's correct.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so if you have 100 people there, instead of charging you for 100 people, you charge for one. So that's 99% less than you would have paid otherwise. That's pretty good. So I think that's an interesting, especially based on this whole challenge is what we're having with COVID. A lot of people are looking for remote or a different version of training, and this provides that opportunity. If our industry is looking for a way to reduce costs, improve safety, decrease the potential for issues and problems, then one way to do that is to contact, go to Propane University. There might be other ways to do this too, but it's the only one that I've heard that's been on our show that actually does remote live training and has been doing it longer than anybody else. And Mike, who has been a driver, has been a tech, and has been training on this stuff for decades, and is the president of the Propane Defense Association. So Mike, that's cool. That tells us a little bit about about your background and what the heck this Propane University is. And just really quick, the Silverback Consulting. Why? So Crum and Forster hires you to do to do their training, and who else hires you to do training, and what is all this stuff? Really quick, bottom line is, what are some of these things that you do over here in this separate company?
well, that's good that you mentioned Crum & Forster. If I didn't see the little sliding image go by on the screen, I would have forgotten about that. But Crum & Forster is one of the only insurance companies in the U.S. That provides training at no cost to their insured. So Crum & Forster has retained me to do all their training for all their insured, and they pay me to do that training. If you're insured with Crum & Forster, it costs you nothing other than the materials that you have to buy, the books that you buy, and that's it. That's what Crum & Forster does. So I do a lot of training for a lot of large companies in the U.S., and we do it all virtually.
Okay, all right.
Great.
Well, hey, good. Let's go into the emergency response. What is the propane emergency response training program all about? So, if you would tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that's another area that I've been doing for a very long time. I got involved with propane emergencies when it first evolved. I can't even recall how many years ago when I first started in this business. And when we did this, those people that started this business, propane emergencies, most of them are not even around anymore. The only one that I can recall that was very active and quite responsible for the startup of the Emergency Response Committee and Training Program was John Hart. And John will tell you that we went to the Academy of Fire Science for the very first time, and we learned propane emergencies out of a 3-ring binder where we got brochures and literature from the National Propane Gas Association, hole punched it, put it in a binder, and developed the propane emergencies course. And now it has evolved into a production that's put together by PERC. They do a fantastic job with the propane emergencies training program. We're now on book 3, and that course is designed to educate and to help emergency responders develop the knowledge and skills that they need to safely manage and mitigate propane emergencies, both in the field during transportation-related accidents and at fixed facilities. And I get pretty emotional when I talk about this. My hands are moving and waving, so I feel bad that the camera's not working. I probably broke it already. But everyone knows, everyone in this room today at this Expo knows the rule regarding employees performing job-related work. An employee that's performing a job-related function must be trained to safely perform that function. This rule, you guys know, is referenced in lots of publications. Federal DOT, OSHA, and NFPA. You know that NFPA clearly states that employees performing the function must be trained. DOT will tell you that an employee performing a safety-sensitive function must be trained. PERC calls it OSHA 90 days, or OSHA first 90 days. Hazmat training program to comply with the DOT regulation for hazardous material training. So that training is required and is required by, I only mentioned a few, more than one agency requires training. When you get involved in an accident, you'll find out quick who those agencies are. We want responders to be properly trained so that they can alleviate a propane accident and work within the incident command system. They need to understand what to expect from their local firefighters, and their local firefighters need to know what to expect from the service technicians that are responding to an emergency. These firefighters are putting their trust in our technicians. Are they properly trained within the guidelines of OSHA, NFPA, to act as responders for the purpose of mitigation, capping, plugging, patching, actually stopping the leak.
Okay.
So one thing I can say, yeah, go ahead, Bill.
No, okay. Just go ahead. Wrap up what you're going to say?
Well, I was going to say, a lot of you have heard what I'm going to say right now. You've heard this in the past. You don't want to meet your local fire department for the very first time on the day of a leak or a fire. So get together with these people. They're your friends. They're your allies. They're going to help you during an emergency. And that's why you need this training. Not only is it required helps everybody. All I want to say is everybody comes home. Nobody gets hurt.
Got it. Okay, so training for both your employees and the local fire department. Got it. And so if anybody wants more information about the ERT program, can they just reach out to you?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. So Silverback Consulting, Propane University, reach out to Mike for that. Mike, you wanted to talk for a minute about the hose inspection, right? You talked about several different things, actually. You said when your guys are going out and doing their vehicle inspections, whether they're doing their plant safety inspections, you do training on all these things. And so you asked me to bring this out to one of our other sponsors for this expo. Not only is one of our sponsors Silverback Consulting and Propane University, it's also the Tank Spotter app. So in the Tank Spotter app, you asked me to pull up this, and I think that fuel hose inspection right here, right?
Yes. We actually have a checklist, and you can find this information and do it on a piece of paper, but I'm glad you are ahead of me on this one. We're back to technology and digital ways of doing things. And certainly, if I can do this inspection with my smartphone, instead of carrying a clipboard and a pen with me, I'm going to be more effective when I do this inspection, because the smartphone is going to remind me what to do and when to do it.
Right.
You let me know when you want me to talk about this inspection, and I'll start running off at the mouth again.
Okay. So bottom line is, if companies need training on the fuel hose inspection, on the, let's go to the other one you wanted me to bring up, the truck vehicle inspection form. Here's an example of one right here. You can click and choose, if there's some sort of issue, people can write on their smartphone, do that. I think you can see, I'm looking at my smartphone in my hand here. There it is. Same thing you see on the screen. So the vehicle inspection, you do training on that. The plant safety inspection, do you do training on that also, Mike?
Yes, sir. I spent quite a few hours with the engineers from my overseas company going through ship-to-shore training in their plant operation. And everything they had was on paper, and had they had this here, they would have done a much better job.
Yeah, this actually tells the people their score, how well they did in the inspection afterwards, sign it with their finger, all that sort of stuff, right? Photo capture and everything. All right, so when it comes to inspections and training, do you train on virtually any of the forms and documents that we need to do in our industry? The gas check, do you do training on the gas check, the leak check, and service
Yes,
work
sir.
orders and things like that?
Yes, sir. Sorry for interrupting. We do all that training, yes. Cathodic protection training.
Cathodic protection, there we go. Let's touch on that one. So this one is going to make, okay, so here's cathodic protection on that same app called the Tank Spotter app. You can go through and tag all the tanks and do everything. So the world, Mike, the world's heading to digital, right? What do you see out there as far as, our industry and what's going on as far as getting off of paper and going to digital? What are you hearing and seeing?
Well, when I started Propane University and virtual training, our words of wisdom, or our catchphrase, was virtual training, the wave of the future. And it was hard for people to buy into that type of technology. But I stayed with it. I got all the training I could on how to educate adults and try to make education fun for adults. So that's the way it evolved. And I see it now. I'll tell you what, you have companies that are doing so much virtually today, they're not going to go back. They're going to continue with it. Just look at the medical profession. It's amazing what they can do virtually.
Yeah, I've talked to people that have gone to their doctors, started going to their doctors and doing it all remote. Don't need to go in anymore. So when it comes to training, when it comes to online and virtual training, anybody needs to reduce costs and improve safety or improve compliance, Crum & Forster is working with you to do training for all their customers. And they're like the second largest propane insurer across the country, I heard. If somebody needs to do, let's say, fine arbitrage, driver qualification file services, hazmat materials, company policy and procedures, regulatory guidance, here's a company that can help you with that. What I understand is that Mike has helped companies across our country and all the countries near us, help them with their propane compliance, their propane documentation, anything safety compliance related. And it was a really great resource for you to help you get to where you need to be. I know that in the Tank Spotter application under critical resources, he's listed as one of the certified trainers right there, Silverback Consulting. So you're being referred by a lot of different places, a lot of different operations. Mike, thanks a lot for being on the Virtual Propane Expo and sharing a little bit about what's going on, how companies can leverage technology despite the COVID thing. They can actually be better trained at a lower price and just easier than they ever could have done that before. So really powerful stuff, Mike. Thanks a lot for being here.
And Bill, I'd like to just end with a couple more words here. I know a lot of people joined this session to learn about the delivery hose and delivery hose inspection. Now, they could refer to the checklist, but all I want to say about these inspections, the employees must be properly trained to identify the defects, and I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I wish you could see my face and hands right now. Delivery hose inspection is required daily. Pre-transfer procedures, which is in 49 CFR. The daily inspections in 49 CFR. If you want to know the sites, the actual regs, email me. I'll show you exactly where it is. Please, these hoses are pre-assembled. They're done by machine, hydraulically, mechanically. We've had hose separations where hoses have separated from the coupling, and I don't want you to be around a hose separation when that hose is dumping gallons and gallons of propane and then finding ignition. So while we are not worried about this because they have a great safety record, please don't become lackadaisical in inspecting your hoses. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Fire engine cause work, and I've seen this happen. I've got some recent cases.
Mike, you asked me to remind you, as the president of the Propane Defense Association, having been there for 20 years and being an expert witness inside of courtrooms, what do you see as the future for, and what do you see happening now as far as the need to make sure that you're using digital technology like this thing right here to actually do your digital forms and documents so they don't get lost, so it's legible, so in a courtroom you don't run into a problem? What are you hearing? What do you foresee? What is the trends going on in our industry and other industries? You had some interesting thoughts on that.
Yes, and that's a very good question. Thank you for that one, because I can tell you this. Plaintiffs' attorneys and the insurance company attorneys that are going against the insurers that are defending the propane gas companies or the petroleum companies, whatever they may be, these guys are good. I told you at the PGDA we have the top gun defense counsel. Well, on the other side of that coin is plaintiffs' attorneys. They do their homework. I can assure you from the knowledge that I've gained from the PGDA that they are going to demand all your training records, every piece of paper you have as it relates to every form that you use to conduct any kind of inspection, if you even use one. And don't say, well, we do it verbally and we go through this together. Don't forget, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. And on the flip side of that coin, I always say, be careful of what you put in writing, because that can come back and bite you big time. So these plaintiffs' attorneys, they are good. They know what technology is out there. They know the digital workspace, and they will put you on the stand during a deposition, or they will get you in front of a deposition and start mentioning these things. They'll show you technology. They'll show you video. They'll show you devices that are available. And they'll ask you if you're aware of it. And they'll drill you on it. And then they'll end by saying, why didn't you use it? If you know this can improve safety and improve your inspection protocols, why didn't you use it? That's the worm's eye view on that one.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thanks again, Mike, for being here. Thanks for sharing what you're seeing and hearing out there in the real world. It is, it would be embarrassing to be a propane company owner and to be called onto the stand and they say, "Can I see your smartphone, sir?" Yes, here it is. Okay. So you have Candy Crush, you have the Major League Baseball, you have email, you have the weather, but you don't have an app for safety. So obviously, how important is safety to this company? They don't, the weather, Candy Crush, and Major League Baseball are more important to them than their own customer safety. Talk with Mike, check out what he has, ask him questions about these safety related apps like this, the Tank Spotter application, and any others that are out there. Ask him about how to protect yourself, how to get involved with the Propane Defense Association. Not many people do know about it. It is a well-kept secret. So that was one of the reasons we really wanted to get you on here, Mike. So thanks, Mike, for being here, telling us about that and about how to do training much more affordably and how to take and leverage this opportunity this year where we're not able to go to the association meetings and the trade shows, where we can focus more on training and compliance and going digital and saving a lot of our company's money. So thank you, everyone in the Virtual Propane Expo. Looking for Mike, you can find him at propaneuniversity.net, or just go to the Virtual Propane Expo itself, go to exhibitors, click on all exhibitors, and you can just type in Silverback Consulting, and it's going to take you right to his booth. Type it in right here, Silverback Consulting, Silver. It'll automatically find him for you, Silverback Consulting, and it'll take you right to his expo booth. You can reach out to him directly from there. He has a link to his video as well as more information. Everyone, thanks a lot for being on the Virtual Propane Expo. We're going to close out now. Mike, again, thank you, and we'll talk to you on the other side.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great and safe day. Be well. Stay away from the virus.
Thanks, everyone.